Welcome back to another edition of the Wizard Shop. Today we're going to talk about some of the tools that I have at my disposal that I would not run my shop without at all. Right after this. Everybody at home has tools. Pliers, wrenches, crescent wrenches, screwdrivers. You can fix a lot of things with these, but these tools I'm going to show you today are tools that are, some of them are specialty tools, and there would be tools that if I had to do it over again, I would make sure I absolutely bought these tools for my shop. Now there's no particular order here or no which one's better than the other. It's just the list of tools I'm going to show you here that are absolutely imperative. Maybe you're starting a new shop or you want to fix cars on the side and you want to work your way into opening a shop. These are definitely some tools you've got to have to make your life a lot easier without cussing and fighting. These save so much time. The first thing is this NoCo Genius Boost HD. It puts out 2,000 amps, as it says here. This can start a Duramax diesel. I know because I've done it. They sell much smaller versions of these. They could start a Honda Civic or something real easy. But it's so many times that a customer brings you a car, they barely got it to the shop, but the battery's dead, and then they leave you the keys and they leave. So you go out there, you put the key in and click. Nothing happens. Click, click, click. You run in and grab this, start the car, and you can move it inside. This is something you can keep in your trunk as long as it's fully charged. You can even charge it off of USB. It has various ports here. Maybe your significant other at home is at work and their vehicle won't start. The battery's dead. You can run to the rescue with this thing. But for a shop, this is imperative. Every shop owner that I know has something like this. In fact, most of them have this model because it's 2,000 amps is pretty powerful. We have a small one of these at home for our cars. We don't have Duramax diesels or big trucks, so it does the job just fine. But there's many times that someone will drop a car off overnight. And I go to start it and bring it in the shop and it's dead. So we call them and they're like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, it's not been starting for me for a while. Or it's just exhibiting the power drain that it came in for. So that's definitely one of the tools I would have. Let me plug it back in here so it's always charged. There you go. So that's definitely one of the tools I would have in the arsenal, is one of these portable battery boosters. Is an air impact hammer, and not one of the little rinky-dink ones that you buy at Harbor Freight that go nyeh, nyeh when you squeeze them. This one's a brute force air cat. It's the 5200 AT. It is very powerful. If you were to turn it on against your finger, it would probably bust the bones inside of your finger. It's very, very powerful. I use these for ball joints or tie rod ends or things that won't come loose. And you can't really get a hammer on it because it's in a tight location. You can reach this up in there. 9 times out of 10 you can bust it loose with this.
The Car Wizard, I thought you hate air tools.
I do, but there's nothing battery powered that does this job with this kind of power. So I'm kind of stuck with air on this. So I would definitely make sure to have an air hammer in my arsenal. And as we go down the line, there's another tool that uses this air hammer to do the job, and you'll see why here in a minute. Number 3 is an angle drill. This is a Milwaukee 3/8 right angle drill. And this is specifically for like broken exhaust bolts where you can't get a full-size drill in, and you can reach this right down in and push on it. Even I've used pry bars before and lightly push on it, and you can drill bolts out in tight areas that you can't get a full-size drill in. I don't use this a whole lot. This is not something I use on a weekly basis. But when it's time to use this tool, there is no other tool that can get the job done. I definitely would make sure to have one of these in my shop. We just recently did a video on a 2013 Honda Accord EXL where we did the timing belt and we explained timing belts. And some of you commented, hey, did you have fun getting that crank pulley bolt off? And the answer is it wasn't too big of a deal because I have this tool that we used. I didn't use an impact, I didn't use a wrench, I didn't use a ratchet. I put the socket, which takes 1/2 inch drive sockets, have the proper size socket right on here. You reach it down in between the engine and the body. And then this is the area where you hit it with a hammer, a pretty large hammer. And you waylay on it a few times, and I haven't found a bolt yet that this won't break loose. It's extremely powerful. This has 2 to 3 times the power of an impact wrench. It is also good for getting into areas where you can't get an impact wrench. Again, this is another tool that I don't use weekly. I probably use it 2 or 3 times a month. But when it's time to use this tool, there is nothing else to substitute it. It is the go-to tool in those situations. Tool number 5 is a fan clutch tool, especially on BMWs and Mercedes that still have a fan clutch. Extremely difficult to get them loose. Or on trucks, F-150s, F-250s, you can't get down there with anything. It's so tight. You have this much room, literally this much room. This is an entire set, different sizes of really thin wrenches. 36 millimeter, 32, 34, all kinds of different sizes. Let me explain it to you how this works. You get the little wrench piece onto the fan clutch nut. It's just sitting there just like that. Then you reach down with this rod and it fits down in the slot just like that. And that's where this other tool comes in handy, this air hammer. You take the anvil out and it fits into your air hammer. Just like that. Reach it down in there onto the actual little wrench and you just waylay away with the air hammer. And it breaks it loose. It works every time. That has saved me so many times when you get in there and you're trying to use it. I've heard of people using chisels on the edge of the nut and knocking it loose or whatever. But sometimes you don't have that kind of room. This has been a lifesaver many times over. And you could also reverse this and actually tighten a nut if you wanted to make sure it's nice and tight. I wouldn't go too tight on it or the next guy will have a hard time getting it off, but that is a really, really handy tool. Again, I use it probably 10 times a year. It's not a whole lot, but I would definitely make sure I had that. So tool number 6 is actually not one single tool, but a set of tools. And you guys might have seen this in previous videos. I've kind of advertised these. And these are for sale on my affiliates page as well. But if these Platinum or Mountain or different brand wrenches, these are Mountains actually, some of them are Platinums. But they're really thin. They're really great for the sides of engines or upside suspension components. You can reach way down in and break bolts loose. They're extremely strong. I haven't really broken one yet. But you push the button here to change directions. And it's ratcheting. And it's also a flex head. I use this a lot actually on suspension components underneath the car, where I know the bolt's going to be tight, it's hard to get to. I'll just reach up in there and put this on the nut and just hang my weight off of it. And it works every time. When I first bought these, I thought, I don't know, I don't see what's so special about these. It's just a ratcheting wrench. I don't even know that I'll use it that much. But I can say after probably 10 years of using these wrenches, there's no way I would run a shop without them, or even be a mechanic at a shop without these. These are absolutely imperative to be in my toolbox. I will guarantee you I'll always have a set of these. My hands get dirty from time to time, but my knuckles aren't all beat up. And it's because I buy wrenches or special tools like this to keep myself from slipping and busting my hands. I had enough of that in the beginning few years of life as a mechanic, and along the way I've made changes or bought special tools to make sure that doesn't happen anymore. Tool number 7 is a Dremel. this has multiple uses. You can draw out a bolt, you can put a small cutting wheel on the edge of this and cut small screws or the head of a screw off. You can cut pieces of plastic, or you get yourself in a bind. You can use this tool to get yourself out. I could go on for an hour and talk about things you could use this for, but it's just so handy. This is the Dremel 4000. I've had it for many years. But you could get a Harbor Freight one if you don't do this kind of work all the time, and it would do just as good. I don't know that it would last for 10 years like this one has, but I would definitely have a Dremel in my toolbox as a mechanic. In the last video we did of Wizard Tips, you saw me use this to actually, on an Allen head of a screw, the Allen portion was stripped out really bad. I was able to get a cutting wheel on this and cut a slot across the head of the bolt or screw or whatever to make it where you can fit a flat screwdriver and get the bolt out or the screw out. This is a lifesaver. This isn't a tool that you get bolts loose or that you do everyday work with. This is a tool that gets you out of binds. That's what this does. And you could use it around the house too. If you're using it on projects or different things or sheetrock or whatever, it could work for that too. So, but this is my mechanic, one of my mechanic tools. Tool number 8, which is a set. I also have another size of these that's being used right now, but these are just long needle nose pliers that have been shaped from the factory with a circular end. And there's many times where there's a hose that I can't get to it and I can't get the thing off and I'm getting really mad. Heater hoses especially. This can fit around the heater hose or whatever hose that you're working on, and you can twist it back and forth and pull it off. It doesn't damage the hose, it doesn't hurt anything, and it can take a 15-minute fight of getting a hose off and turn it into a 30-second fight, and you get the hose off. This is incredibly handy to have these. When I first saw these on the tool truck many years ago, I said, what in the world are you going to do with this? Are you going to pierce your nose or something? He goes, no. You use it to get hoses loose. And the first time I used this on a heater hose, I was like, boom. I had only this one size, but after it worked so well, I went ahead and bought a whole set of them because you get small vacuum hoses, heater hoses, power steering, return hoses, all kinds of things. These tools are excellent. Kind of an example, it's not exactly the correct size, but this was a hose that won't come off. You put these around it and you wiggle like this and pull. It breaks the friction loose and makes it to where you can pull it loose. You see, Miss Wizard is not going to pull it away from me.
I'm trying. Okay.
Very handy tools. And number 9, we have my little Furby friend. He actually doesn't help do anything, but he's cool to have around. This is a joke in the shop. We're always putting it in weird places. You go to the bathroom and you look down and this thing's staring at you. Or I find it sometimes up here. Junior Mint sets it up here, or sometimes it's in the office by Crazy D's desk, or kind of relieves the monotony, I guess. It's not really a tool, it's a comic relief. I think it's one of my daughter's Happy Meal toy or something. I don't even know where it came from, but that's not really a tool. Really, number 9, the tool I'm going to get at is these gray pneumatic sockets. These are the GP or gray pneumatic duo sockets. I have 1/4 inch drive, I have 1/2 inch drive and 3/8 drive, but I'm just showing the 1/4 and 3/8 right now. I've literally had this set over 10 years, a long time. And what's really special about these sockets is I can buy one set of sockets and it does everything. They're thin like a hand tool socket, but they're warranted for impact. Here's an actual impact 15/16, and you can see how fat it is on the inside. It's really thick. If you had a tight area to get it in, it wouldn't work very well, but these are thin and light and easy to use. I don't know if they're made out of some kind of special material or what, but I've had a couple crack on me before, and I turn them in for warranty. There's no questions asked. I get a brand new one. And it was really my fault when they broke. I was hammering really hard with an impact on it, and it was like a 10 millimeter. Other than that, I've never had one break. I've never had them fail on me. Some of these I don't use hardly at all, ever. And you can see they kind of got rusty and crusty, just from not being used. That's how old they are. They've been sitting there for probably 10 years. In the summer, I have a drink, and I set my drink down, and condensation gets on them. That's why they got the rust on them. But I haven't had to buy any other sockets. After I bought this set, it has gotten by for over a decade. These things have been a lifesaver. They're just really handy sockets to have. And the last tool that I definitely would not operate my shop without. No, it's not the Furby. Thanks, Mrs. Wizard.
You're welcome.
Is a really good scan tool. When I first opened my shop, I bought an Autel MS906 because it did so much. 90% of the time, I don't have to go to a factory scan tool. I can just use this. Since my YouTube channel has taken off, Autel was very kind and they gave me an MS908, which is a larger upgraded version. They also gave me the Maxi Scope, which basically is a 4-channel lab scope. You guys have seen this in a previous video I did showing that I had just gotten this tool, but I can look up sensors, I can read data on the fly, and it has 4 channels. It's really, really handy. But the main thing I'm getting at here is not so much the lab scope portion of it, it's the scan tool part of it. Over the years, I've worked in a couple different shops. We had Snap-on Veris, we had Snap-on Solus Pros, we had Autologics, and all these different types of scan tools. I have never, ever seen any of those have any package even available to buy that covers Rolls-Royce, Lamborghini, Vauxhall, Opel, Bugatti, Land Rover. Go to the Asian market, Fuso, Daewoo, Mahindra, Renault, Samsung. There's cars in here that we don't even have in the United States. The Nissan GTR has its own icon for that. And then there's your Ford, Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, all that stuff, the common stuff. The main reason why this is a tool that I'm recommending that I can't run my shop without is because any of these cars could pull in a Bentley, a Mercedes-Benz, a Jaguar, a Peugeot, Ferrari, Maybach, a smart car, a Citroen. Boom, I got it covered. I can hook into it. I can actually access modules in the car. If you are going to run a European shop especially, you have to get an Autel MaxiSys tool. I know a guy in Wichita, he just opened his shop not too long ago. His name is Johnny. You guys have seen him on Hoovie's Garage. He calls himself the Car Ninja. Guess what he has? An Autel MaxiSys. Pretty much just like this one. So you can use this on Fords and Hondas and Chevys and things, but this tool really shines in being able to cover so many different makes and models. It's not even funny. I mean, you can just scroll on and on and on and on, all these different makes and models, and I was really surprised. I've actually had some cars in here that I thought, surely this isn't going to work on it, and it does. It pulls through like a trooper, no problems. Now, if you're just a do-it-yourself at-home mechanic, this is probably not going to be something you're going to buy. It's very expensive. But they make smaller versions, a 906, and they make some that are even smaller handhelds that can just read codes and do basic Honda, Chevy, Dodge, and things of that nature for much, much cheaper. But today I'm talking about is tools that I wouldn't run a shop without. Not that I would work out of my garage with. This is a professional level tools. At home I have a small tool, small little pocket scan tool that works just great to quickly read a code and clear a code or whatnot. But if you're going to get into serious diagnosis and look at the data, this tool is irreplaceable. I don't know how to speak Bentley or speak all the different languages. This thing does. It interprets everything for me. Very powerful. So we got to have fun with my toolbox and scatter a bunch of tools out and make a mess today. I'll have to clean up here in a little bit, but I wanted to show you guys some of the really awesome tools that I have that I wouldn't run a shop without. And some of them you may be, oh, I only work on 2 or 3 cars a month for friends and stuff. I wouldn't buy that, or I wouldn't buy that. But the thing is I was getting at, like I just said a minute ago, This is tools I wouldn't run a professional level shop without. Maybe some of them you might pick up and use them. Some of you might just say, oh, I wouldn't use that, but that's just fine. Just giving you guys an idea of what I use here. So some of these are on my Amazon affiliates page. Actually, I think most of them are. You can check them out and see what the prices are. Some of you actually have purchased these tools already off of Amazon. I've seen it, and let us know in the comments what you thought about it when you got it. But anyways, I just thought you guys would like to follow along and see what I use. If you haven't hit the subscribe button already, you might want to do that now because we have many more cool videos coming. I'm trying to keep you guys entertained during this lockdown that we're going through, and I know personally, sitting at home, you're just like, oh, I want to go out, I want to go do this, I want to go do that. But we got to stay safe. We got to do the right thing, stay home, and try to flatten the curve, as they say. So until then, we'll keep on putting an extra video out a week and keep you guys entertained. And again, thanks for watching.